Hello and welcome to another BuildASoil Tropical 10x10 series episode. Today, my wife Gwen and I are just going to show you a few of the plants in here and show you what's changed. And also we want to plant some seeds. So the last couple of months as we've done the episodes, we're really just filling this up, and we had trouble sourcing the types of exotic plants that we'd want in the middle of winter. Now that it's springtime, it's time to start adding plants in here, popping seeds. And we just want to tell you what's happened since the last episode, bring you up to speed, and then we'll just keep documenting in here. So let's get started. You want to go out there and plant the seeds first, and then we'll come show them the plants after?
Sure, that sounds good.
Okay. She's got some world record pumpkin seeds. We've got some fun stuff. So follow us. We're just going to go get it done right now.
Okay, so on a whim, we decided to plant some world record pumpkin seeds. Tell us a little bit more about these seeds and how it came that we decided to do this.
So I'll bring you up to speed on the seeds. I got a message from Kevin from Rootwise, makes this product right here. Everybody that follows the BuildASoil way knows about these products from Rootwise. But one of the things that's really cool is Kevin is very, very experienced in growing mega-sized plants. So we're talking 10, 20 pound plants, outdoor, full season, greenhouse. And so when we're talking pumpkins and world record, a lot of people, there's many different vegetables you can grow. This is the Maverick seed. And you can see this particular one is from last year for 2022. And this is the world record jack-o'-lantern Maverick, 2,560 pounds, largest pumpkin ever in North America. And we got 2 seeds directly from the grower that grew this. Now, the reason why that's important is this particular guy, unbeknownst to Kevin, had purchased the Rootwise products, the BioPhos, and started using them on his world record run-up to this pumpkin production. Since we were so excited, he was using a Rootwise, family product, BuildASoil family product, Rootwise. We're excited. I'm sure a lot of you were, to see such a huge pumpkin grown with some of the products that we've been talking about for a long time. So we actually reached out, and he was so nice. He actually sent us 2 seeds for free, and my wife was like, I'm planting these. And so we're going to be putting them in the field and just see what we can do. We're not going to make a world record run in the sense that we haven't planned everything out, started early, got like a greenhouse covering just for it, but we're going to do our best to plant them.
I best believe I'm going to try.
And she's going to crush it, and they're going to be huge. But we're going to plant those today. She's going to plant those. And then I've got a couple of other things we want to do real quick. We've got some of these cactus that I want to plant. And so a lot of you guys grow cactus, and it's something that we want to grow as well. And so these ones in particular, you can kind of look up the name. I wrote it down on there. We've also got some seeds that we're going to plant today. And so these ones I've mentioned before, and there's some from Pricosaurus. And so these are different crosses that he's made. Some of them are for beautiful flowers. Some of them are for the medicinal value. They're San Pedro cactus. And so either way, what I want to do is not hold these back. These were a gift from Kid Kaya. If you follow our other YouTube series, you know that he's a breeder. And so I'm going to just plant these. We've got some soil that we're going to make special from BuildASoil Light by mixing some extra pumice and rice hulls for the cactus. We've got 2 of them to plant. And then one last thing was just an old pack of Carolina Reaper. I don't know if we're going to get any germination, but we wanted to pop these as well and start them in the tent. And then we'll show you when we go in there. She's popped hundreds, thousands of seeds already and transplanted tomatoes into the greenhouse. There's some cucumbers in there. So we'll mention a few of those things.
Okay, so let's get started.
All right, how do you want to do it?
Just go ahead and fill those up for me.
Okay. Pull the bag.
I'm going to go ahead and grab one thing.
Oh, that looks great. Okay. Just going to loosely fill. Looks like the perfect moisture, babe, so we should be good. We've been really dialing in standard operating procedures, quality control, making sure moisture, everything in the soil building. It's like a kitchen over there, just making each recipe as perfect as we can. So it's really rewarding as the owner when you open a bag, and it's exactly what you want to see. So what I mean by that is moisture is you get a little bit of clumping, but you don't get any water squeezing out. And right out of the bag, I like to see it. We can't do it every time. We're working with organics. We don't have wetting agents that last forever like the chemical companies, but I love seeing it.
All right, so Kevin messaged me after I posted these on Instagram and said that I should dust my seed in the Microbe Complete. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that before we plant them today. So I've labeled my 2 cups. That way I know if they go in a dome or in the tent, I know exactly what they are and today's date. That's the other thing.
Cool. And then while she's doing that, I'm actually going to grab my Chapin sprayer, and I've got water in already. Okay. And I'm going to put a little bit of Rootwise and a little bit of aloe in it.
Yeah, so anything I plant, when I'm first planting a seed, I personally like to water things in with a little bit of root wise and a little bit of aloe. So those are the first two things I go for. All right, so check it out. Look at the size of that pumpkin. There's even the little Maverick symbol on there. That's really cool. And then inside here just tells me a little bit about it. It says, thank you for obtaining the 2,560 pound Maverick. I truly feel like this seed is the closest thing to the real 1885 one can get. It was crossed with a beautiful orange in 1885 and was such an easy plant to grow. Best of luck, and follow us on Travis's Pumpkin Facebook and Instagram. I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and put the seed, like bring some powder forward here, fully coated, as you can see. And then I'm not gonna go more than like 3/4 of an inch, half an inch down. What do you think?
Just the size of the seed is how deep you want to
That's what I think. So that's about there.
Looks perfect.
Okay. Did I do it right?
Yeah, looks good. I'm gonna steal a little bit of this,
That's
put it
the
in the
first
water,
one.
and a little bit of aloe. I'm gonna do there's 3 gallons of water in here. We're gonna use it elsewhere. So I'm gonna add 3 teaspoons. And aloe vera is a medicinal plant. And so we just like to use it. It's one of her favorite products. It's one of my favorite products. Customers, really good reviews. So it's been kind of since the beginning of BuildASoil. We've used aloe.
Both seeds in the soil.
Okay.
I'm really excited for this.
That's pretty cool.
I've never grown a big anything, only just by accident. So to purposely focus my energy on growing a massive pumpkin, it'll take a lot of learning for me, and I promise to do my absolute very best so that it's enjoyable for everybody who watches the progress. Okay, so if you don't have a chapin at home, I wouldn't just dump a bunch of water on it one time. And then again, I've never really grown anything with a seed that size. So I'm gonna do my very best to give it enough water, but not too much water, because we really want the seed to germinate properly.
Yep. Now when you've planted, like world record pumpkin seeds are expensive. We got them for free as a gift, but they're very valuable. And so one of the things a lot of people do with a valuable seed is they'll want to pre-soak it and treat it really special. I know this is a world record pumpkin. It's from last year. They're very vigorous seeds. They look really healthy, and they're not old. So there's no special treatment needed. With the right amount of moisture in there, the fact that we're going to use a dome, they're not going to dry out. The seed's only job is to imbibe that water and to pull it in, and it's really good at it. So you don't have to be perfect. You just want there to be enough moisture in there to get the job done. Since the soil was already an ideal moisture, we didn't have to add too much. Let's get the rest of these done so we can get to the cactus and go back in the tent. So let's do some of these. Let's do like 4 of them.
Okay.
And we'll do 2 in each. That way we're sure to get germination. I just want to grind these up and have something for the house, so it should be pretty fun. I'll grab these. Now pepper seeds, they are pretty small, so we're not going to dig a big hole. The way that I like to do it is basically tamp the soil down once it's done. And that way, as soon as I water, it doesn't like move the seed around. This one's labeled. Okay, so I'm just going to press the soil down. I'm going to leave a little bit of room in here. I didn't fill it completely. And then I'm going to set a seed on top. And I'm barely going to press the seed in, cover it, and we're just going to moisten it, put it in the same tray here, and that's it. And to make sure that we get that germination, since these are old seeds, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 seeds in each one. I just put 2 seeds kind of next to each other. We'll see which one germs, if either of them do, and we'll go from there. I'm barely going to touch them down and just tuck them in by pulling fresh soil over the top. You want to help?
Yeah, I definitely have a little method of my own.
Okay. Now we got to label them, hers and his, and see.
Okay.
No, what if you win? All right.
Perfect.
Think that's good?
Yeah, I think so.
You can always add a little more later. We're going to have the dome on, so they're not going to dry out. I just don't want to drown anything in water. There's no reason.
Seedlings, less is more. You could, like he said, always come back and give a little bit more water, but you can't take it out, so.
And so the next part, you know, we're trying to document stuff that's new for us. And over the years, we'll have documented it, as well as do stuff that we're really good at. I've never grown Santa Rosa from seed. So this is totally new to me. And there's a lot to learn about it, as far as some people say you have to sterilize the soil and they're really temperamental. I've read that about every vegetable. And so we're not going to sterilize anything. That's not what we do. We like to use probiotics. We've got the root wise in there. I think it's going to work well. We're also not going to give them much special treatment. We're just going to use the same for all of these for the seed starting as we are for the full-size cactus. Before I do that, I want to make the actual soil we're going to use. So let me set the tray up here and explain what I'm doing. I've got just a tray to make it easy. I've got some BuildASoil Light. I'm gonna dump it in. And you can see the texture in there. We've got pumice and rice hulls, worm castings. It's a really nice texture. But for the cactus, I want this to drain just a little bit more. I've used this all the time and it works great. But to widen the margin of error and really make it drain better, and since we're fresh rooting, I don't want it to be too wet, I'm not gonna add any moisture to this. Pumice. And I'm gonna eyeball it based on texture. We use about 1/3 aeration. Some of that's pumice, some of it's rice hulls. We're gonna increase that to maybe half. So I'm gonna add a little bit more until it looks good to me. And then rice hulls. Don't have to add any of these, but I'm just trying to keep the ratio even. Okay, now the rice hulls add drainage. They're high silica, and that's just the hull from rice. And they've been boiled, so they won't germinate. And I'm just gonna mix this in. Make more of a succulent cactus mix here. Now the reason I said we're not gonna give them any special treatment is this pumice is kind of chunky. And so some people fear it for seed starting, but man, seeds can grow through anything. I'm not particularly worried about it. We're not using like 72 cell trays or anything. I think that's gonna be just right. It's a much drainier texture now. Obviously consistency is important, but we're just having fun. And this will drain better than it did a few minutes ago. Ready to go, fresh soil. Take that around back. Okay, I got 4 cups here and I have 4 packs of seeds. And so that's as far as I'm gonna take it. I'm just gonna germinate a few seeds in each and see how they do. And I've got 4 different types here. I'm gonna try and read them. So it's John's Jammin crossed with Scope and Eileen. And we've got the Loxanthosaurus sulcifer. We've got the TPM and Deborah's tershiki. And Brevin spinulosus crossed with Flying Saucer. No clue if I said any of those right, but we're gonna plant all 4. Okay. Now they're labeled. Let me scoop some soil out of the fresh batch that we got here. Okay, I'm just gonna tamp them down now so that my initial watering doesn't cause all these little tiny seeds to just float away. Not sterilizing or doing anything special. Let's see what kind of results we get. Who knows? Never done this before. Now there's a lot of seeds in each one. You can see how small they are. I'm not gonna plant them all because I wanna keep some around, but I'm certainly gonna sprinkle a few just to make sure we get some germination. Okay, so there's like 10 or so. I'm gonna put these all around in there. Okay, we'll see what happens. I'm just gonna allow the moisture to carry that in, and I'll water them all at the end here. Save the seeds in case we really like one of them, want to grow more. And the breeder here again was Pricoceras. So you can see the name. These were gifted to me by a buddy that I do jiu-jitsu with, and he saw that we were talking about cacti, and he says, man, I got some seeds you gotta try, so this is pretty cool. We have a lot we want to do in this tropical tent, so it's really good to be getting this done today. Been saying I was going to do it for a while, and you know how it feels to just get stuff off your to-do list. Putting my hand first so I can kind of have the same amount from each pack go in there. There we go. I'm going to use the moisture to seal it up. They're such small seeds, I'm not really going to bury them, and they'll be in the humidity dome, and hopefully that works. Now, a lot of people said don't add any moisture, you know, keep it really dry. I was told by the person that gave me this cactus when I plant the seeds, just treat them like regular seeds. Water them like you normally would. And so I'm keeping it on the light side, but I'm trying not to be scared of the water. And then we'll report back. We'll let you know how the germination goes. So world record pumpkins, some Santa Rosa, and some Carolina Reapers. Kind of an interesting tray there. See how it goes. I'm just gonna seal it up, keep the moisture in. Now we got one last project before we walk through and talk about the update on all the houseplants and how they're flowering and anything else to show off in there. Let's get this done. I've got 2 different containers. We're just reusing stuff that we have around here, nothing special. And I'm gonna go ahead and put some of this soil in there, and we're gonna use that for the 2 cactus. All right, I think that's pretty good. Let's see if I made enough. Looks about just right. That one's gonna be a little low. Maybe we'll just add a little bit more. Balance it a bit. I'm not gonna add any moisture to this. I'm just gonna let them root. Some people root them kind of straight in pumice. So I feel like this should be fine. And so you can see on the bottom here, it's been sitting here for a couple months and it actually started to grow out of the container. I'm gonna cut that off. But on the bottom, this is what we're looking for. It's all calloused up after it's been sitting. So if you take a fresh cut, They tell you to set this aside to dry out for a few weeks until you get that callousing. I believe when Kid Kai gave them to me, he actually dipped this in a little bit of sulfur just to make sure it didn't get an infection. And yours might be the same as that. So either way, I'm gonna plant that end, and I'm gonna plant it about 1 inch deep, but first I'm gonna cut this part off as I want it to grow straight up and have nice structure to it, not be all bent on the top like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just cut it. There we go. I could probably even root that, but we'll just leave it. These things just wanna grow, it's crazy. And then I'm gonna dig out a little spot, put it in so it's only a couple inches deep at the most, and that's it. That's all it should take. I'm just gonna be gentle when I move it because I don't have a stake in here supporting it, but it's not gonna move, not in the wind or anything, and that'll support itself, and then we'll watch it grow. All right, so this one didn't start to grow. Looks calloused. I don't see any rot. It did kind of explode down there, but I really think it's fine. So I'm just gonna go ahead and plant this one in. This one's slightly different. This one's gonna be a little harder for me to grab freehand. So I'm gonna jump it down. I'm gonna grab it like this. Make my hole. And then let's crowd the dirt around so it doesn't fall on me. Not really trying to bury it, but I do want it to be like 1 inch deep. Pack it down a little. Okay, that's all I'm gonna do. Let's watch them grow and see what happens. I think they're gonna be beautiful houseplants. And of course, a long time in the future, these are medicinal plants as well. And that's something really cool to get multiple values out of the type of plants that you're growing. We'll figure out where to put these inside the 10 by 10. And then since we're gonna be in there, we'll show off all the rest of the plants, kind of give you an update on the coffee plants and everything else that's going on in there. So let's do it. Let me grab this first tray, and then we'll meet you guys in the tropical 10 by 10. Okay, welcome back into the tropical 10 by 10. You can see that we put the seeds, they're all in here now. We got the dome on, we'll see how it goes. And we have a few more things to talk about. The cactus is there.
We have a huge variety of plants in here. We've started starts in here for the greenhouse, and then on top of that we have our tropical plants. So kind of maintaining that balance has been a little bit difficult, but I think we've got it to where it all needs to be now.
Yeah, like we want to keep it 70 or so, but at night it'd go like the 80-90% humidity, and there'd be water on the floors turning green in here. And part of that's because we didn't have the air flow. Cycling fresh air, new CO2, all of that in here was just sealed. And it was easy to keep the humidity up because we weren't pulling air out. But now that it's gonna get hot, we have an exhaust fan in the back corner. It's gonna get triggered on temperature to help keep it cool. That's gonna suck all the humidity out. So I'm gonna go grab a commercial humidifier. We're gonna hook it up in here right before we leave so that it keeps it perfect in here. While I do that, she's just gonna show you around and talk about the plants real quick so you can see what they look like right now. So I'll be right back.
Just to get started, I don't know the names of most of the plants we've put in here. One thing that I can mention is our hibiscus. It's, you know, we showed it to you in the beginning. It's really struggled since we put it in here. One thing I did for this plant in particular was just really let it dry out. And then I've just been giving it a little bit of water every single day. The flowers were starting to bloom and then they would drop immediately. So now that the plant, you can see, is starting to look green, it was really spotted and struggling. Here's a blossom that's dropped and didn't open, but we were only getting 1, maybe 2 blossoms. I have an iguana at home. He loves to eat hibiscus flowers, so I'm particularly growing this plant for him. We have 2 blooms here today. I'm going to take them home. This one here is a variegated houseplant. I have a friend who collects houseplants. It's an albo is what Jeremy's calling it. We put this in here. It's really happy right now. As you can see, I've had to stake it up. It's a vining plant, so it's just gonna keep doing that. Here soon I'm gonna change out my stake so that it has more to grow and maybe come up with a way for it to grow up the wall here. A couple other transplants we have here. This one was struggling, it almost died. We put it in water, we let it get some roots, and then I went ahead and planted it. It's doing well so far, but we'll keep you updated on this one as it takes off.
I love cheese, and it's got those holes in the Swiss cheese variegation.
This is a begonia. It was also struggling in the small pot it was in. We've up potted it, and I can see now that because it was just staying this height, so as I can see this, the top of the plant is starting to get bigger, and that's really when you know your roots have like hooked up, they're taking up nutrients and enjoying their environment. One thing to mention, whether it be houseplants or plants in the greenhouse or any plant in general, if your plant has been struggling and you're bringing it back to life, What I always look for is new growth and healthy new growth. So like I said on this plant here, this new growth is really, really healthy. This one was just a plant sitting out in the lobby at BuildASoil, so it's taking its time. It's a rescue, but it's got a bunch of new growth. This one is a watermelon begonia. Yeah, it was looking pretty sad. All the leaves were looking curled up.
Now they have like
this.
10 names for all these plants, so if you guys have a preferred name, drop them in here. I know that many people, when they come in, they'll point it out and they'll call it a different name when they come in BuildASoil.
Yeah, so you don't stick with everything that we call them. This one is a rubber tree. It's looking really beautiful. They love this environment that we have it in.
That's the one we transplanted in the last one. I think the first episode or second episode, and it was like all these little leaves that weren't happy, and now they're elephant ear, just like the other one. Beautiful. And the other one's not in here because it looks so good. She actually transplanted it into the retail store with its own light because it's beautifying the store. I don't know what this one is called. It's just a begonia, but this one was from Farmer Kurt. He dropped it off, and he'd never seen it flower before, but because we're on 10 hours of light in here, it's just dumping flowers all over. It's got huge leaves. Everything that's unfolding is looking good. So to me, that's one of my favorite plants in here.
Yep, and this is an aloe plant. I brought a couple clippings from my aloe plant at home, and it was struggling super hard until about last week, and now it's looking really, really good. One thing I read online about aloe plants is that they like higher NPK fertilizer. So I went ahead and I have been feeding it some fish. I've been giving it a little bit of aloe, and I gave it some root wise, and as you can see, it's looking really, really good. So maybe that's true. Yep. Maybe it's just happenstance.
Well, most people that have them as houseplants have low light, so they don't need much. But when you give it intense light, you can really feed aloe, and they take off and they grow huge.
It wants the nutrients for sure. This was also a rescue out of the retail store. I think you saw it in the last video. It only had one little leaf, so it's doing really, really well. Yep. Same thing with this one. I don't know what it is, but it's also a rescue. Planted it last week, and it's got some new growth here too.
Look at this one. This is a story. Did you tell them about that?
No, go ahead.
This is a sugarloaf pineapple from Hawaii, and one of the members on the Patreon group, we have a Discord for BuildASoil, and it's really cool because we're able to communicate. There's a whole group of people back there that are helping and supporting each other. I'm not even as active as I'd like to be, but the members are so supportive of the vision that we're trying to produce here, and every one of those people are also growing their own plants and discussing it. So someone took the time to send us one of these from Kauai and sending us a sugarloaf. And the sugarloaf, you can actually eat the whole center, where normally the pineapple, you cut the middle out. These are tender and sweet all the way to the middle. And so what we did is we cut the top off when we ate it, and we've been soaking it in this water, and once it roots, we're gonna plant it, see if we can grow a pineapple in here. So part of the fun of the tropical tent.
One thing to remember, I think it's important to notice when you're doing this is we'll change out this water pretty often. It can get kind of stagnant and gross, and then the plant really can't.
Yep. If you could change it every day, it'd be ideal.
So that's what we'll do with this, is always changing its water. Money tree, let's talk a little bit about that. I up-potted this as an example for what I've done at the ones in my home. So at home, I have up-potted all my money trees, and they are massive. So I thought I would show how easily you can just put it in a little more soil and have this beautiful, healthy tree. As you can see, all the new growth coming out, and it's looking beautiful.
Yep. So these big leaves were growing that big in this little tiny container in here because of the light and the condition. And so they started to peter out a little bit. So when she transplanted it, now you can see how happy, like look at all the leaves are perfect now. That's what we're looking for, sheen, beautiful new growth.
And I think one of the things you'll notice on all the plants in here, like I just talked about, is we had a little bit of an overwatering issue because of the humidity, and the soil wasn't really drying out. We were both just coming in and putting water on the plants to make sure they were healthy. So you can see kind of some residual effects from the overwatering, but the new growth again is looking super healthy, so I'm not concerned. Yep. I know I'm on the right track now.
And overwatering, I think a lot of times it robs the ability to take up nutrients. So that lighter color, the lighter green, a lot of times is an indication of that.
This one I love. It's a sword. It's called a silver sword. Philodendron, correct?
Yes, yes.
And so some of the ones I've seen like it, they grow these big, massive trunks, and then it kind of just goes in this like zigzag shape the entire time. Very healthy, very beautiful. We had one flower come out.
Yep, one flower open and closed. Now we added 1 hour of light in here, and I'm not sure if that's going to stop flowering on some things, but it seems to have increased vegetative growth on others. Since there's such a variety, we're trying to find that sweet spot. Coffee had less hours of direct sunlight, so we're trying to mimic that. But I really want everything to be happy, so we're just kind of playing with things in here.
And I particularly love the plants in here that have aerial roots. So this one has a ton of aerial roots, as you can see.
That one.
This one over here has a ton of aerial roots. What else do we have here?
Here's the elephant in the room. So last video, this was vine that I was actually vining up here and tying up. And we haven't been able to film all the time, so we have to do stuff in between there. But it went over, up the poles, down the thing. It was wrapping around the coffee plants. It was just it was a bad idea. And so we took 2 of the tomato starts that were this big, like a week ago, I swear.
Yeah, it's been about a week and a half.
Put them in there, and they're just crushing. And then this little one down here is a blueberry start from Home Depot that I just couldn't not buy. And it's doing really well. So that's really good to see. But which one are these? So we got a potato leaf variety?
This is a potato leaf variety. This is going to be the yellow Brandywine. They have yellow, massive beefsteak style heirloom tomatoes. And then this here is a cherry tomato. I'm not really sure what cherry tomato we put in here.
I just wanted a cherry.
I know I grabbed one and it's a cherry.
Yep.
So from what I can remember, it's the yellow cherry.
So cherries are easier indoors. If you don't get the watering right, or if it's not like full sun, cherries are easy to produce because they're small, where when you get big ones, you have to consistently have ideal conditions for the whole number of weeks it takes to produce that fruit. So if one of the weeks in the middle you over it underwater, it'll rip and it'll not be perfect. So that I wanted to kind of do both. We'll see what happens.
Well, and speaking on that, that's a game we're going to have to play with the pumpkin outside. You know, when you're growing such a massive fruit, it's going to be, I feel like, somewhat easy to get it to a certain size. But then once it gets there, they put on so much weight per day. Your environment, or the way you water and the nutrients, it all has to be perfect. Otherwise, you're going to split your pumpkin, and then it's not worth anything. So
they said you can hear the pumpkins grow at the end of the season. They grow so fast.
Best believe I'm going to be out there at night seeing
the sounds of the pumpkin growing. Okay, coffee plants. Since I planted these, I want to talk about them. There's one that's been struggling kind of the whole time. And it hasn't really outgrown because I started to water them the same, and I think that was a mistake. So I'm gonna stop bottom watering this one and let it just do its thing. It looks like the growth is pretty good. I've been letting it dry down. One of the branches died. I'm gonna cut that off. All the other ones are making it, and some of the new growth does look good. So I think if I continue on what's produced, this will be good. Let me take a look down and see. It's finally dry down there, so I'm gonna leave it, and I think it's really gonna rebound. This one has been crushing. All the new growth firing out really well. It's been drinking the water down below. So this one I think is on cruise control now and is going to do a lot better. And we don't know what to expect, but if you look in here, looks like it's starting to maybe try and fruit or flower. And so then we're going to get little red cherry looking fruit on here that we'll then harvest. We'll then take the seed out, we'll dry it, roast it, and make our own cup of coffee, and that's going to be a whole bunch of other stuff to document. And you all know that I love coffee, so I'm really looking forward to it. Even if it doesn't turn out well, I'm excited to do it. And then this lychee tree, I basically killed like 3 different times, and it's finally starting to grow back again. I put that mustard seed on there, remember in the last episode? This did not like the mustard seed, it almost killed it. Most of the other plants, I mean, maybe that wasn't their favorite thing, but this one took a my wife's looking at me like I hate the mustard. Some of the plants don't like it, okay? But this one in particular hated it, and now I finally see new growth here, new growth at all the tips, new growth right there, and last time this started, by the time growth looked like that, it started to go fast. So we're just gonna keep conditions like this. It seems to like to be almost overwatered. This one really likes the moisture, so I'm gonna leave it at that. This was a grape from Home Depot. It started to grow, started to die. So we're just kind of playing with the duality of the moistures there. That's why we put some cover crop in hopes that it would drink the moisture while we keep everything in an ideal setting. And we'll see, we're just learning as we go. Never grown a lychee tree before. And that's pretty much it. You wanna show them the rest and then we'll just wrap it up?
Well, I would like to talk about this one real quick, the jade plant. So one of the things about this jade is, one thing I've noticed in the greenhouse, and correct me if I'm wrong, but certain pests will attach themselves to certain plants. So we had brought in one plant that had some scale.
This had some scale on it, actually from the desk over there. Before we brought it in.
And so there's no scale I can see on most of any of the other plants. This one is where it seemed to be. So I've taken it twice now out of here. I sprayed it completely down with neem oil, let it dry completely, and then brought it back in.
Mealybug or scale looks like this. And we're gonna keep pulling those off. We'll show you what we did is we manually removed them from the rubber tree and they're completely gone. Sometimes you can hurt the plant manually removing it. It depends on the plant. You can see all the nooks and crevices in here. It's like perfect for it and it loves it. Doesn't seem to be hurting it much, but we really want to get rid of them because they're gonna suck the moisture out and they're just gonna kill the plant, and we do not want anything to spread. We've got other plants in here. We got another 10x10 series we do. The last thing we want to do is be spreading problems. And if you buy plants and trade plants, you're gonna find problems. You're gonna have to know how to solve them. And the good news, we've got lots of natural products that help with that. So the neem oil seemed to have worked really well. We're just gonna keep up with the discipline because nothing organic is an eradicatory, like in the first go. What else?
Okay, so last but not least would be these 3 plants. This is our flamingo lily, and it's just flowering over and over and over again. It's very happy. I guess we both didn't really think of how big it was going to get, so I'll more than likely up-pot this one
I love the colors.
soon, because I want it to just grow to its full potential as best as we can here in the 10 by 10. This croton is looking beautiful. As you can see, we have new growth all the time. It's very happy. It's got
been flowering.
It's got an automatic watering pot down here, so we're able to just kind of bottom water and let it drink as necessary. This one, I just don't know what it's called. It got majorly overwatered. Actually,
like right from the store.
It was sitting in this pot. This insert was actually inside another container, and so as it was being watered, it was just not drying out at all. It was overwatered, so I took it out, put it in this tray, and as you can see, it's looking so beautiful.
Yep, lots of new growth.
Tons of new growth. And
so that's what we look for, the new growth, like she said here. See? That's awesome.
What I want to say about this one too is at our local hospital here, I went to have lunch with a friend the other day, and they have an atrium. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
This was in their garden. It's actually a massive tree, and so I was really excited to see that that's what this could be. Obviously, we don't have room for it to be a tree, but this is a beautiful plant, and I'm really enjoying watching it grow.
And then cucumbers, we're going to plant those in the greenhouse. She's going to grow a ton of them for pickles and for just fresh cucumbers.
And these are last year's seeds. I've stored them well, and so germination isn't perfect, but better than I expected it to be. If you look over here, my pickling cucumbers are looking very healthy, very dark green, as you can see, lots of turgor.
And that's just a random soil mix of leftover soils from multiple different recipes, so you can almost make anything work. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yep, I've given them root-wise and aloe, so.
Okay, well, one last thing before we wrap it up today. I know we're kind of spinning around here. I've got a bucket, and I mentioned the humidity. It's important we keep up with it. I've got a commercial humidifier. We offer these at BuildASoil. There's many ways to do it, but this is gonna blast humidity enough that will keep up with the exhaust. I'm not gonna show you as I set up the entire thing, but essentially I wanted to show you that this tube goes in the back. That way you're not adding water directly to it, and that's it. Now this end goes to whatever reservoir you wanna put water in. And so then all I have to do is plug it in, and when it senses the humidity's low, it's gonna turn this on. And we can talk about environment later, but when you have this many varieties of plants, instead of you running around trying to keep it perfect, you get an environment that's dialed, and then you get to just enjoy the benefit of the plants, and they're all gonna be happier. So it's super important that I get this hooked up tonight as the humidity's dropping because of the heat as we exhaust the air. And it's important. We don't want it to be stagnant in here. So instead of me showing you how to hook that up, I'm just gonna explain to you any reservoir will work. What I'm gonna use is just a quick connect fitting and a bucket. And this should be enough water for now. We might move to a bigger reservoir later. And I'm gonna show you how easy it is, and then we'll wrap it up. I've got a 1/2-inch drill bit. I'm just gonna drill a hole. Sweep this out later so we don't have plastic bits in here. And then that's my reservoir. All I have to do is take this quick connect fitting here. So it's not like you have to be a plumber to make some of this do-it-yourself stuff. I push this through, connect it, and this will be watertight now. And that's all we need to make a reservoir that feeds our commercial humidifier. And there's other purposes. You can do self-watering out of here with gravity, lots of different tips. This just plugs in, it's a quick connect. And now that that's in there, it won't pull out because it's a quick connect. And all I have to do is lift this up with some water in it, and we've got a perfect setting to just set this on a shelf. I'm gonna fill it with water. That's gonna fire humidity. The next time you see us in here, we're gonna have much higher humidity. It's gonna be keeping up with temps. And we'll talk about all the things that it takes to make sure your environment's dialed. Do you have anything else you wanna add while we close it out, Ben?
Feeling good.
Okay. Thank you so much. We've been really meaning to get to this next episode. We promised to be a little bit more transparent and documenting the process here. We skipped probably a month of recording in here because we've been so busy with springtime season, but that's it. So thank you so much for watching. As always, like, subscribe, tell your friends about these things if they help you. If you've got questions, we're gonna start doing frequently asked questions for the tropical 10 by 10. If you've got plants, some people have wanted to send us like carnivorous plants or special plants, we'd love to show them off in here. It's part of the whole group experience and sharing with each other. So just reach out, we'll answer questions. Subscribe, like, tell your friends, and until next time, we'll see you all on the next tropical 10 by 10 video.